Welcome to Africa 24 English. Today on Decryptage, we explore Africa's drive for stronger financial compliance and transparency. Rwanda, host of the Afreximbank Compliance Forum, leads the way using international best practices and AI to build trust. Our guest, Mrs. Soraya Hakuzi Yaremye, discusses how these reforms strengthen African economies and global trade credibility. This year's theme is about using AI to strengthen compliance in areas like AML and counter-terrorism financing. How is the National Bank of Rwanda preparing for this shift, and what difference will it make in the way you oversee the financial sector?
Yeah, let me first start probably by an overview of what Rwanda as a country has done to make sure that we have a robust regulatory framework to combat money laundering, but also terrorism financing. For the past 7 years, we have not only reviewed our laws, anti-money laundering and countering terrorist financing laws, regulations, but also established an independent financial intelligence center, which is in charge of anti-money laundering and terrorism financing, the regulatory work, but also supervisory work in that area. Secondly, since September this year, Rwanda is also the chair of the Eastern and Southern Africa Anti-Money Laundering Group, ESMALAG, which is in charge of coordinating all policies, but also making sure that African countries in the eastern and southern part of our continent comply with recommendations at global level set by the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF. So Rwanda is very much involved in that regard, and the central bank has a crucial role to play as an integrated regulator of both the banking sector, but also insurance and pension funds, as well as other non-deposit taking financial institutions. Our role is to make sure that we maintain financial stability, but also financial integrity, hence fighting financial crime. How do we do that? First is our supervisory role and making sure that our regulated financial institutions comply with the AML, as we say, AML, CFT, anti-money laundering and CFT regulations. But for that, we need to modernize our supervisory tools. Technology is a great tool to use in terms of making sure that financial institutions comply with regulations. And so first thing that we've done is, one, invest in human capital, develop skills, being on the data analytics side. We have our staff that are being trained in machine learning, and making sure that also when there are new AI-powered tools that our financial sector wants to use, that we have in our regulatory sandbox testing AI tools, providing compliance solutions in a controlled environment, so that we are also aware of what those tools can do, what risks that we need to mitigate before those tools can be used by the financial sector. Last thing is also working on our policies and regulatory framework, both to allow innovation, but also making sure that whatever innovation is coming, the compliance side is always at the forefront, and that we don't have AI, unethical use of AI, for instance, and that's the main theme of the Afreximbank BNR Compliance Forum, is making sure that AI is used in an ethical manner, that we understand what those tools can achieve, how can they help our supervisory work, but also mitigate the risks so that we don't compromise financial stability. So that's the challenge that every regulator has. But Rwanda is very committed to, one, developing its international financial center, but also being at the forefront of combating financial crime, anti-money laundering, and terrorism financing being one of them.
Rwanda will host the 2025 Afreximbank Compliance Forum, bringing together experts from across Africa and beyond. What does this say about Rwanda's place in the financial world, and what benefits do you see for this country in the years ahead?
So hosting the Afreximbank Compliance Forum 2025 is a strong sign of confidence, one in Rwanda's ability to organize international conferences. As you know, international conferences is one of the strategic priority for Rwanda. Second is also a trust in Rwanda's financial sector and its regulator in partnering with Afreximbank to put compliance at the forefront of conversations, but also development in compliance. Kigali now is a place where forward-looking conversations happens. And you may recall that earlier this year, we as Rwanda hosted the first ever AI summit in Africa. And this compliance forum by Afreximbank partnering with the central bank is in the same line, puts Kigali on the map of I would say pioneering conversations on different topics, sectors in Africa, and we are very happy to partner with a Pan-African bank that Afreximbank is.
Investor surveys frequency indicate that robust regulatory compliance and transparency can increase foreign direct investment inflows by 10 to 20%. How does Rwanda measure the rise in investor confidence resulting from improved compliance frameworks and digital innovation?
I believe investors choose Rwanda because of, one, its respect of the rule of the law, predictability, but also a regulatory framework that is at international standards. And as you know, investments can only come because of a credible, stable environment which Rwanda has created. Second, as much as we promote investments, we are also extremely vigilant about the regulatory framework to make sure that we are not attracting bad actors, that we have solid regulatory institutions, so that we strike the right balance between investment and stability, between innovation and again stability, and that we are adaptable enough to accommodate new investment, new sectors, but not jeopardizing the stability that we have built as a country.
Given the African Continental Free Trade Area's objective to boost intra-African trade by over $50 billion annually, how does Rwanda's adherence to international compliance standards position it to secure a substantial portion of this growth and establish precedents for oversight and financial governance?
First, on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, you may recall that it was signed in Kigali in 2018. So Rwanda has always been a champion for regional and continental integration. On trade increases, for trade to flourish, you need, same as I spoke about investment, you need respect for the rule of law, you need predictability, not many changes in the regulatory frameworks that destabilizes business people. You need to have created a conducive business environment for people to come and set businesses. And Rwanda in that regard has done a lot in terms of facilitating people when registration of a business can be done in as fast as 6 hours. At the same time, we always endeavor to innovate and make sure that we remain competitive. It's no secret that efforts that we have made contributed to us being ranked as the second destination for investments in Africa. The fact that we are not only among the first signatories of the FCFTA, but also being members of other regional economic blocs, the East African Community, the Common Market of Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, also shows how we are serious about making sure that we are part of regional and continental integration. Now you ask whether a culture of compliance helps in attracting trade. Every business person wants to be operating in a stable environment, predictable environment, but also making sure that if there was any unfair competition, there's a regulator that's there to make sure that everyone has the same level playing field, and that's what Rwanda has been offering to investors and business people.
Looking ahead, how do you envision Rwanda balancing the opportunities and challenges presented by innovation like AI and digital finance with the need for stronger compliance? Specifically, what strategies can ensure that regulation fosters growth rather than hindering it?
As a central bank, it's a dilemma we always have. Which innovation do we allow, and also how do we maintain financial stability as our core mandate? And so what we have done is to make sure that we are creating rules and best practices to safeguard stability, but while encouraging innovation. How we have done that is the regulatory sandbox, which allows financial technology companies, fintechs, to be able to test new solutions that do not yet have a regulatory framework, and we work with them to see how we can co-create that regulatory framework. Second, a case in point is how we accommodated, for instance, mobile money. At the time in 2008, 2009, apart from Kenya, which had started M-Pesa, we didn't have a telecom companies offering financial services. So it took an agile and open-minded central bank to allow telcos to start offering financial services, and then learn with them how that impact financial stability, putting regulations in place, and we can see the benefits today. Mobile money has been the biggest driver of financial inclusion, and we can see that Rwanda also is promoting fintech so that we can innovate, make sure that digital financial services in the market offer cheaper, more efficient products to the clients, but enforcing regulations on one side to the financial service providers, as well as making sure that we also enforce the laws and regulation on consumer protection. So that dual, I would say, role that we have as central bank allow us to be at the forefront and ensure that we understand new innovations coming to the market, have a robust regulatory framework to maintain financial stability, while also making sure that consumer rights are also respected. So that's, I think, that the way that we, as a regulator, make sure that innovation is not hindered by the regulatory framework, but also ensure that financial stability is always maintained.
Mrs. Soraya Hakuzi Yaremye, thank you for answering Africa's 24 questions. And to our viewers, thank you for following this program. Stay connected to Africa 24 for the best African news in streaming and replay on our website, africa24tv.com, on Play Store, on the My Africa 24 app, and on all our social media channels.